Welcome everybody to Get Your Geek On. I am Aaron. I'm back with Robert, and we're here to talk about our Pixar retrospective review.
Yeah, I mean, with Pixar set to release their newest movie, Soul, directly on Disney Plus on Christmas Day for no additional charge, you just have to be a subscriber, we decided to go back and review some of Pixar's previous work.
So up first, guys, is A Bug's Life, the second movie?
It is the second movie, yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Released in 1998, the first one being Toy Story.
Oh, yeah.
And why didn't we start with Toy Story? Why did we do A Bug's Life? Well, the reason is that we're going to focus on the non-franchise movies first. That doesn't mean we're not going to get to the franchise ones. We will talk about Toy Story eventually, but we wanted to start with the ones that are kind of isolated. They're their own movie, because obviously Soul is its own movie. It's not a franchise movie. It might turn into one. We don't know. But at this point, that's why we wanted to start with A Bug's Life. Right. So we both watched it.
Yes.
I know I had seen it when I was a kid. This wasn't your first time watching it,
No, this
right?
is like my third or fourth at this point.
Okay. So, let's just get into it. I mean, we're going to dive into A Bug's Life. The story is about, an ant colony that is being basically harassed and bullied by these grasshoppers. Mm-hmm. And they're, one ant's plan to put an end to that, kind of. Basically. So, what are your feelings on Pixar's A Bug's Life?
It was okay. I mean, it's not one of my favorites. It's honestly almost forgettable for me.
Okay.
It feels like almost a wash, rinse, repeat kind of thing. Like we have our villain. We know he's the villain. We have our hero. We know he's the hero.
Sure.
And of course, the whole rising up, blah, blah, blah. It's something we've seen for the last 30 years, it feels like.
Yeah. I mean, it's a political story, if you will. Mm-hmm. Like it's about, oppressors and oppressed people, in this case, bugs. And, it's the little guy standing up. It's, there's power in many versus, the few. It's all of those themes are in there. I will say, this is, I've seen this. I saw this when I was a kid. Yeah. I loved Toy Story. And I remember liking A Bug's Life, and I feel like I'm about there again. It's okay. It's not great. There's some good voice acting going on in this movie. He who shall not be named, doing the villain voice, Kevin Spacey, for all of you out there. I just named him. He's a great villain, probably because he's a terrible guy. That's it. Okay, there's a lot of stuff in the news about him, so I feel like we don't have to dive into that.
That is true.
But he does have a very menacing presence in this movie as the villain. And it's like you said, it's okay. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have the emotional weight that a lot of Pixar's movies do. Right. A lot of Pixar's movies deal with, specific relationships, whether it be, father and son, or, certain, some of them have even romantic, but there's just like friendships or different, like brothers, siblings, parents. This one, it's, it's just kind of, it's a group of people that are part of the same colony. You don't really feel that kinship with anyone, or at least I didn't. No. Overall, again, I think there's some fun to it. There's a lot of jokes. Oh, yeah. Some land, some don't.
No, that's
true. Some of the running jokes or the running gags are kind of like, oh, that's cute, but nothing that's gonna like split your side.
No,
it's not one that I would say, like, if you've never seen it and you're like a Pixar nerd and you just for some reason you missed this one, it's not even one that I would say like you have to go see.
No.
Like, it's okay. It's better than a lot of animated movies. It's certainly, as an adult, it's a lot more palatable than a lot of animated movies where you're like, I can't believe I have to sit and watch this with my kid.
Yeah.
Like, I'll throw this one on with my daughter and enjoy it. She actually watched like an hour of it a few weeks ago.
Nice.
And she had a good time. And so it's not one that I'm like, oh, I don't want to be here while this movie's on. It's just, it's not like great.
It's not like the first thing I'm going to put on. It never is. It might be like the fifth or sixth thing I put on at that point, if I'm lucky.
We'll see. If I'm on Disney Plus with access to the entire Pixar like catalog and all of the Disney animated movies too, it said this one's not getting put on unless, the reason it got put on in my house is because we had seen a bunch of the other ones and I was like, oh, we haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah.
Let's put it on. And, she saw the picture with the bugs and she's like, oh, let's watch that one.
Let's go, guys.
All right. And so we watched it and it's fine.
You know, the funny thing is, like you said, I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Okay.
So catching some of the adult jokes now, and I'm like, oh, that's an adult joke. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there's
like,
a few
now
of them.
I get it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think I got that when I was, so a movie came out in '97. I would have been 9.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would have caught them. I
So-
don't think I got any of them.
So Pixar is kind of known for innovation, right?
Yeah.
So in this movie, was there anything that stood out to you that was like, man, that's something that's lived on for the last 20 plus years that, like Toy Story has some of that. Anything for you that you go, wow, Bug's Life changed the game?
To be honest, off the top of my head, no. Because there wasn't, just trying to look at it from being a media, like love, my media background.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see anything that was like, this is stuff we still use. Like there was no particles that were like everywhere until the very end. But even at that, they were still using the sound
There's not
effects.
a ton of groundbreaking stuff. I mean, there are some shots that you don't typically see in animation.
Yeah,
like
I'll give you
that
that.
zoom in shot on Flick's face when he realizes that they're circus bugs the first time, and like that's kind of like that's the Jaws shot.
Yeah.
And it's not something you see in animation a lot, so
That's
it's
true.
interesting to see that. The one thing that actually is what I was thinking of when I asked you that question is it's hard to say whether like this didn't become a trend, but Pixar did it a few more times.
Okay.
Is they have like the animated outtakes,
Oh yeah, those were
which
cute.
which
I forgot about
obviously
that.
you those are planned. You
Yeah.
can't have an outtake in animation.
No,
like
that's
that's
true.
not how it works. So
Yeah.
to take the time to animate outtakes, to have the actors,
the other
say
movies
their
did that.
lines and do those things, like that's clearly all planned.
Yeah.
But to present it as these bugs are actors in their movie.
Yeah.
Is kind of, that was an interesting concept that I had forgotten that this movie did it. I remembered that Toy Story 2 did it.
Did it? I don't remember
And
that.
it's like, and so I thought for whatever reason, I thought that was the first Pixar movie that
Right.
had done this. And so I was watching it and I was like, oh,
You're like,
I
wait.
forgot this one had outtakes.
I forgot they even did that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw it and I was like, oh, okay, like whatever. But I forgot all the other ones do it.
Yeah. The one thing that I feel like we should also talk about with this movie is the controversy around this movie coming out around the same time as Ants, which was
Oh my gosh, I forgot about
very
Ants.
similar. And that was DreamWorks. And there's this whole big story where the head of DreamWorks Studios was a previous Disney employee who kind of got ousted.
Right.
And he ended up, like founding DreamWorks. And he still had a relationship with the people at Pixar.
Right.
And so depending on who you believe, they told him about this movie they were working on. They told him about A Bug's Life,
Right.
and he decided to fast track Ants at DreamWorks to compete with it. And it turned into this whole big fight. Ants was a little bit more adult, a little bit
Right.
more, satirical than this one, which is much more comedy heavy. I remember seeing both as a kid, and definitely I liked A Bug's Life a lot more as a
Right.
kid. I think, again, Ants is a more adult movie. I haven't returned to it,
Same.
so I don't really know how that one holds up.
Curious now.
But at the end of the day, I think Pixar has certainly gone on to some great heights, and DreamWorks has had some big hits too. I mean,
yeah.
Shrek, the How to Train Your Dragon franchise,
Mm-hmm.
that's all DreamWorks too. But nothing that has really hit the same level maybe as a lot of Pixar stuff. So
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting that there was that kind of battle. And what stood out to me with A Bug's Life to kind of bring it full circle
Yeah.
is Pixar is kind of known for the really original ideas, whether it be toys that come to life or, going inside the mind of a child
Right.
or, like those different things that nobody else has really attempted to
Right.
do. And this one doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is something that nobody else could think of. And it's not just because Ants also came out. Like, it's also just the story beats, the elements of it. It feels like a lot of stories that we've seen before.
It is. It's very much a David and Goliath thing. Like you said, you
Yeah.
hit it in the beginning because the grasshoppers are bigger, they're smaller,
Mm-hmm.
and I like that. Even in the movie, it almost calls itself out because he even says they outnumber us 1 to 100.
Yeah.
If the ants would have thought that a generation before, the
Right.
movie would have never happened.
Yeah, I mean,
like they're dead.
It's definitely it's something where the oppressors know that they're only keeping them in line by not letting them see the big picture.
Exactly.
And so, like, again, it is kind of a commentary on real life
exactly.
examples, where it's like you keep the masses in line by keeping them busy.
Yeah.
Don't let them have time to think about their situation. Like that kind of.
Keep
And
them
so
moving.
it has some interesting themes and ideas, but
It does.
at the end of the day, the movie's just okay.
Yeah.
It's certainly not great, and especially when you compare it, and we're gonna get into some other movies.
Yeah.
When you compare it to a lot of other Pixar movies, this one is really like.
The only thing that's interesting is he got eaten alive at the end.
You do.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not like, oh, cutaway. It's like, nope, he got eaten alive.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, he fell off a cliff and like you never see him again or anything. Like
Yeah,
Scar,
no.
he falls off a cliff, he
Right.
dies.
Right.
But that's it. It's like, nope, he's gonna get eaten by 3 babies right now.
Hopper's getting eaten by birds.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
I like that part that they didn't really turn away from that. Like, like I said, like some of the animated movies beforehand, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, they're dead, they fall off a cliff, or oh, they're stabbed in the stomach and they just fall in the sea.
Yeah, and so just real quick. So what was like? Who are some of your favorite characters? Because I know I had some that really stood out to me that I enjoyed even as a kid and I enjoyed as an adult too.
No one really. I mean, I like Flick. I'm sorry. Big. I think he sticks out for me because I like the idea of always wanting to invent stuff. That's always been something that I'm in.
Yeah.
And then I really did like. I think it was funny, the Black Widow character, as she's webbing up, she's counting like the knots, I guess. And I was like, oh, that's a cute little thing. Like she's memorizing. And then the joke of, so that's how my husband died. I'm like, you're a Black Widow too. It's like, I'm a Black Widow. No, you're just a Black Widow. That's what you do. So those two are my favorite, probably.
I gotta say it. The little pill bugs that are just like always fighting with each other. Like the physical comedy with them
Reminds
is
me
great.
of Three Stooges.
And at the end when they like get the Hopper's antenna and they're like playing around with it and like that stuff's all funny.
Yeah.
Really the whole troupe is pretty good. The Circus Bugs. Some are better than others. I found myself really connecting to the dry comedy of the praying mantis. As he's just, I love that he's kind of the put upon, like he's annoyed that he always has to play a stick or a sword or, like whatever. And he's constantly just complaining about it. And so I enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty good. Most of the ants were kind of forgettable to me. They
really are.
They have a lot of different characters, and it was weird. Even at the end, the Princess Ada becomes the queen, like right at the end.
Right at the end.
And so there's that scene where, the circus bugs are like flying away, and the new queen and the little princess Dot like flick up, and like for a second I was like, it's the grandma queen, because they had put the headset on and it was like, oh wait, no, that's not, like, it's just they all blend together.
They really do. David Heiss Pierce, he's from Frasier.
Yes, he is.
That's why I was like,
Yes.
I know that voice, and when he was saying it, I was like, I know it's David, and I forgot.
He's good.
But yeah, like all the ants are forgettable for me. The only one that was cute, and he was only cute for the last 2 seconds, and she's like, oh, you can come oil me up later or something.
Oh,
and
the
I'm
old
like,
guy.
Yeah, I was like, the old man. Like, okay, that's kind of cute, but again, the adult joke kicks in right there.
I think
it's like, okay.
I gotta say, I think my favorite scene, I think, is the party when the circus bugs first get there, and they're like, the little class is like, we drew this mural of you fighting off the grasshoppers, and it's like, we drew one of you dying because our teacher said it would be more dramatic. Like I thought that whole scene where there's all of like, and there's like just those moments where it's like, when your grasshopper friends get here, we're gonna knock them dead, and it's like, it was kind of funny to play with words. It's like, it's show business words, and also, in the ants' mind, they're going, yeah, they're going to fight them off for us. Yeah. And really, they're just saying, we're going to knock their socks off, break a leg. Wow, you guys are vicious. It's like all that stuff.
I think the funny thing, too, is after the bird is made, and I guess they're putting like berry juice on them to make them look like they got hurt.
Yeah.
And the ants look more like zombies to me.
Oh, right.
Because they're like, and I'm like, you look like a zombie more than a hurt ant? But sure, he's buying it. Let's go with it.
So let's go ahead and let's finish off the review. We both said it was kind of okay. So score out of 10 for A Bug's Life.
I'd say 6.5 out of 10. Just keep it right in the middle.
All right.
That's where I would hover.
Yeah,
around.
I mean, I'm gonna give it a 6. Okay. I think it's a pretty good animated movie if you are an adult with kids. Yeah, it's one that you can definitely throw on and everybody can enjoy. It's not too scary.
Exactly.
It's I would say, you get 4 or 5 year old is around the age range you could start to show it to them. There might be a couple moments that, depending on how sensitive your kid is.
Yeah, exactly.
But, it's not, again, as an adult, if you're watching a kids movie, this is not bad.
It's not bad at all.
It's not as good as a lot of other Pixar, which I think we'll get to.
I think so.
But 6 out of 10. It's not a bad movie. It's still pretty decent. The last thing that I wanted to ask you with this movie is, should they revisit the world of A Bug's Life?
Please don't. Please don't. No. Just don't.
And really, is there more story to tell? Because with a lot of Pixar movies, whether it be The Incredibles, 15 years later they had a sequel. Monsters Inc. They gave us a prequel.
Yeah.
After 10, 11 years, Finding Nemo, they added a Finding Dory. Yeah. And so they built off of that kind of a sequel.
There's nothing to this unless you want to start like their kids. But no, I don't want to see that.
I kind of agree. Like I don't see more story here. There was one cool Easter egg. I don't know if you caught it. When Flick showed up at the Bug City, it was outside of like a trailer where the Pizza Planet truck was parked.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
So a little link
Don't
to,
they do it in
to
all
Toy
their
Story.
movies, right?
There's usually some kind of link to another movie, whether it be, I think there's a Nemo toy in one of the Toy Story movies.
Yeah.
The Pizza Planet stuff shows up in a few different areas.
That's cool.
Yeah, I caught that, like the silhouette of the truck with the Pizza Planet thing, and I was like, cool. It's Pizza Planet.
I missed that.
I thought that was cool.
That's cool. I missed it.
So, anyways, for Get Your Geek On, this has been our Pixar retrospective review, where we're starting doing some of these leading up to Soul coming out on Disney Plus. I'm really excited for that, so we'll talk about that soon. But
yes, we will.
Let us know what you think about A Bug's Life. Do you think we're way off base? Is this your favorite Pixar movie? Or maybe you say, this one's forgettable and I never want to watch it again. It was terrible. I think Aaron and I are both kind of in the middle on it. But comment below, like, subscribe. Be sure to tune in to our news show, Get Your Geek On.
Talking Geek. Season 4 right now.
Yeah, so we're having fun with that. So anyways, for Get Your Geek On, I'm Robert. That's Aaron. Thanks so much for stopping by. We'll talk to you soon.